Muslims demand candidate apologize for Islam insult, even more enraged by his 5-word reply. When Republican gubernatorial candidate and U.S. Naval Officer Phillip Parrish made a politically incorrect statement about Islam, Muslims demanded an apology. However, instead of getting what they wanted, they were even more infuriated to hear his brilliant 5-word reply. Every time an individual examines Islam's tenets, Muslims viciously attack, propagating that the examiner is Islamophobic, racist, and anti-Muslim. Never do they allow negative reflection upon their Quran and Sharia laws, hate speech or incitement to terrorism. Typically, non-Muslims who venture into the dangerous territory of critiquing Islam are easily dissuaded by the Muslim community's character assassination, legal ultimatums, and threats of violence. Unfortunately for the Muslim minority, there's one up-and-coming candidate who not only refuses to refrain from probing Islam's tenets but is bolstering his declarations. When Minnesota Republican gubernatorial candidate Phillip Parrish openly stated that he opposes Sharia law because of its inhumane oppression and incompatibility with the law, he was censured by the Muslim community and liberal media. However, instead of backing down and issuing an apology for his politically incorrect comments, Parrish unhesitantly responded to their outrage by repeating his claim, stating that he refuses to accept Islam as a peaceful faith and that it is undeniably the antithesis of the Constitution, according to local newspaper The Post-Bulletin. Incredibly, the Muslim community's attacks on Parrish have thwarted neither his efforts nor his popularity. In fact, Parrish is now leading in the polls as support for the politically incorrect candidate skyrockets. In a bid to convince Parrish to stop insulting Islam, Minnesota resident and founder of Community Interfaith on Islam Regina Mustafa offered to educate Parrish in an effort to propagate the narrative that Islam is peaceful and Sharia law is progressive. To her dismay, Parrish replied that he'd love to talk with her on the condition that she admits that her ideology refuses to recognize man-made law above Sharia. Parrish responded by saying he would be willing to meet but that I separate Islam from the word faith because faith takes belief and Islam requires only submission. He added that he would ask her to publicly denounce Sharia law and declare that Islam, Sharia, and the Quran are the antithesis of the U.S. Constitution. Unable to refute his claims with any reference to their religious texts, the Muslim community has resorted to the typical liberal rhetoric when they have no facts to support their argument, name-calling and redirecting attention from the issue at hand. Anti-Muslim bigotry like this emboldens those who would discriminate or commit acts of violence against Muslims. We've seen hate crimes, violence, and bigotry skyrocket as politicians have increased their attacks on Islam and Muslims, said Muslim Advocates Policy Director Scott Simpson. However, Parrish has spoken nothing of Muslims but focuses on Islam's prescribed laws and commands. In fact, he continued to rebuff their puerile name-calling by further pointing out Islam's inconsistencies. I see myself as a person attempting to expose those who are attempting to set up rules and laws and regulations contrary to the U.S. Constitution, Parrish said. It's causing harm to people. Thousands of analysts like myself, thousands of law enforcement specialists have been trying to tell leadership this same message for over 20 years. And no one seems to want to listen, or they live in some kind of utopic world of no. People really don't think like that. They don't really mean to cut somebody's hand off because they stole something. They don't really mean to put someone to death because they defiled themselves with an unclean woman. They don't really mean to rape little boys on Thursday night because the imam gave them permission to do that, Parrish said. Unsurprisingly, Minnesota Rep. Tina Liebling, who is also running for governor, called on Republicans to denounce Mr. Parrish's ignorant, Islamophobic statement. Hilariously, her demand was ignored as Phillip Parrish's approval rate continues to climb. The Quran not only calls for the rape, enslavement, and slaughter of non-Muslims until Islam is the only religion, the Prophet Muhammad, who is the exemplar of Islam, modeled each of these commands. It's not anti-Muslim to point this out. It's logical and crucial to our society's existence and freedoms. If you love your news from one sexy-ass robot like and sub, then hit up my big fat bell.